Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. So, today I was reading in Matthew chapter 19, talking about marriage and divorce. And I think a lot of times we don't fully understand, or Christians use a loose term for divorce. Now, I believe that, I think people should really get to know each other before they marry. Don't get involved with someone and marry them just for the sake of marriage, just for the sake of not going and fornicating, just for the sake of, oh, I'm missing out an important piece of my life, so I want to fill a void and get married. Well, now I'm not satisfied because you're rushing into a marriage. I think it's important that if you get married, it should be on biblical principles. I don't believe that one should marry someone just because of the feel good moment that it provides in the relationship. Give the relationship some time, foster your relationship. Because when you get married, you're not allowed to divorce. But we make these excuses that it's okay to divorce because we're either growing apart emotionally, or I'm going this way and you're going that way, or there is a lot of arguments and turmoils within the marriage, and God can fix all of that. But I think it's important for people to marry who God chooses you to marry, not marry because you want to marry that person, because you like that person. This is where the issues come up and problems occur. So I want to read Matthew 19, verse 4 through 9, and we'll talk a little bit about this. It says, and this is Jesus responding to a question that the Pharisees asked, says, and he answered and said to them, have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. So now they're combined spiritually, they're combined physically. Okay. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. Now, that's a key point, and I want to talk about that in a few minutes. Verse 7 says, they said to him, why then did Moses command to give a certificate of divorce and put her away? He said to them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, permitted you to divorce your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. Verse 9, and I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, and marries another, commits adultery. And whoever marries her who is divorced commits adultery. So let's back it up to verse 6 that I read, which talks about two people becoming one flesh. Therefore, God has joined together. Let no man separate. So let no man separate. This is outside of the marriage. Don't let anybody come in between you and your wife. But when your heart gets hardened, you're coming in between you and your wife or your spouse. If a wife's heart gets hardened towards her husband and goes and leaves because she can't do it, that is allowing man to separate. Not just a man gender-wise, but mankind, right? Because he created us both, male and female. And I think that's a very important piece. And a lot of times I have seen some Christians who have gone to church who have gotten divorces, and they go different ways and remarry and marry, and they say it's fine. They repent and they say it's fine. I've repented for getting the divorce, but I remarried. But Jesus says that you're committing adultery. So every day that you're married to somebody else and not your original spouse, you are committing adultery. This is what Jesus says. I believe a lot of times what happens is when we read the Bible, sometimes we want to make excuses or try to find an inch that we might be able to justify a position or a stance that we take. and we say, you know, I can repent of this because of grace. I remember reading a portion in the Bible, something about people who believe in the grace, right? That it's dangerous. And I want to find that and talk about that, because I believe that when you think that, hey, I have got grace, that it allows most people to do what they do and then give them that leeway to justify why they're doing something. So the Bible is very explicit about marriage. Marriage is a very important piece of our existence. And it even goes to say Jesus and the church is the bride. So spiritually, this is huge. Spiritually, you got Jesus and you got the church, and it comes together. That's the bride of Christ, is the church. So it is huge in that manner. Marriage is not something to be taken lightly. It is a lifelong commitment through trials, through problems, through sickness, health, rich, broke, whatever. When you say your vows, the traditional way that people say their vows is exactly that. Through sickness and health, better or worse, richer or poorer, till death do you part. And a lot of times I think people get married because of the feel-good moment. This woman makes me feel good. This man makes me feel good. So let's get together. Don't want to waste the time. Don't want to spend the time to get to know each other and then come together. There's nothing wrong with waiting to get married. The Bible does talk about if you can't abstain from sex, it's better to get married than to burn in hell. So in that retrospect, if you can't have self-control, he's not telling you just go get married to that person and then later, you find out you guys aren't compatible, you don't get along, whatever, and then divorce. No. He's saying that abstain from it. And if you can't abstain from it, then it would be better to get married. But pray. Ask God to come and intervene and help you through the sexual issues or problems or desires that you are having. See, the devil will come in and try to entice you through sex. And so if you pray and you know the scriptures and you understand the scriptures and you ask God, help me with this, break this chain from me, it can happen. So again, for those that are married, don't let any man separate you from your wife. And that's including yourselves. Don't get so engrossed or entrenched with having issues and having problems and not being able to sit down and work them out and talk about them, not praying together to strengthen your marriage. Stop using the excuses of, oh, well, we just drifted apart, or I'm going this way, she's going that way, we don't get along anymore, it's just too complicated, it's too rough, I didn't know. Spend some time. And before you get married, the biggest piece of advice I could give you, before you get married, pray. Pray together, pray individually, go to your pastor and pray with your pastor. Take your time and find out if the marriage will work through prayer, fasting and prayer, praying together. Really take your time to know who it is you're marrying. Don't get into a comfortable state where it says, hey, I can get married and then later divorce, and then I'm covered by grace because I made a mistake. Don't let your attitudes or your behaviors come in between you and your spouse. Don't let other people come in and entice you to leave your spouse because of a feel-good moment. With that, I'm going to end the video. Think about this. Think about what I am saying to you guys. And if you're struggling, go to the altar. Take your wife to the altar and pray. Go to the pastor and pray. You can overcome whatever is going on. Whatever it is. Just want to say I love you guys. God bless. Stay in the Word. Stay in love. We'll talk again soon.